This is your daily market recap for Thursday, November 17th, 2022.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market recap for Thursday, November 17th, 2022. Hopefully you're doing well. Want to get into the market pretty quickly here. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm doing this live. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications of live chats, which we do all the time. And it's nice is that sometimes the best conversations are at the end. Stick around. You'll see we open up the mic for everybody. If you have questions relating to the stocks I'm going over, please interrupt me. If not, let's just keep it going. A lot of people, I know, are struggling with OPEX. We talk about this all the time. CHOPEX, OPEX, study the past, tops and bottoms, what's going on. We've got to dig into it deep because at this point, you're, to me, at some inflection points and material names, and then your tech areas look like they're in in-between zones, which to me means if there's going to be that rotation back and the market wants to continue higher, which I think it does, because again, we climbed the wall of worry. If everyone's bearish, I've noted this a million times in my tops and bottoms within my journal. If everybody's bullish at the lows, it's probably not the bottom. And if everybody's bearish at the highs, it's probably not the high. So on that note, let's get into it. If you want to be part of the Discord room, DM me on Twitter. And just like mortified by what I'm reading today on Twitter. It's like, man, could everybody be wrong? It's like, could everybody not be wrong? No, of course everybody could be wrong on there. Like it's freaking social media. Bitcoin, we've said this for months. Leave it alone. If you owned it, you had to break out and hold out above the highs. Couldn't. Now you're back at the range lows. Playing a game between the highs and the lows. At this point, I would tell you, stay away. That's not what people want to hear. Maybe it's a capitulation, but if you're buying it, you got to have a stop. Please do not sit here and just go, well, I'm buying Bitcoin forever. I'm going to hold it. Don't know for sure. I don't trust that. Again, it's like if you've traded gold for any period of time, you know how hard it can be. Oil. All right, here we go. Breaking below support, retest the highs. Is it coming back down to new lows? Back into 76s, demand destruction. I don't know. When was the last time oil bottomed? During OPEX. Here it was. And then chop and then went higher. This action today, and we'll get into it, it feels, again, if you see the gaps in the action on the USO, it feels very capitulatory near term. Now, are the fundamentals, you want to argue it? I don't care. I really don't care. I've said ultimately you will get back probably into the 60s, but the market would probably implode first. Well, is the market imploding? No. Will oil catch a bid? Probably, if what? The money rotates. And this is where it's like, all right, take the chance. Seems logical to me. I mean, solar stuff is not getting smashed. Oil service names are holding up really well. This seems like a very coordinated effort to get oil down, but let's think about, again, because I usually don't talk about the economics, but here are a few things that just lay in the back of my mind. The party that just won the Senate has no plan for oil and gas. We need to refill the SPR. We're still in issues with potentially overseas, globally. Oil producers are at a point where there's no incentive for them because they get, attacked religiously for making money and pumping oil. So supply demand game, we'll see. I mean, it could be just a big choppy zone. That's always got to be on the back of your mind. Could you go back to the range lows? Maybe. That's why I want to watch the close on this stuff. We'll see what happens. Options expiration, always a game. You never know. This action, though, currently, I mean, you got to look at it as bearish. But let's talk about some of the things going on in the market with the dollar. You'll see as we paint the picture, it's like, is it? Is it, or is it a trap? And we'll talk about why I think it's a trap. All right, nat gas needs to get over this like 640 area, building up. I like it. Remember, this futures contract is always going to be front month heavy at the moment, or maybe not. I can't remember. I hate TradingView. If they're listening, I'm sorry. It's just y'all's charts. I find so many issues with your charts at times, not being just having issues. I have this way like consistency. We'll see. The volume here, it looks interesting. But again, I don't even trust the volume. I've told people this. I don't trust the volume metrics on TradingView at all. So I would just say watch the swing zone, 640. keep it simple, stupid, right? Like, let's see what's up. So here's where it gets interesting with the dollar. And we'll get here. Let me pull it up. Put out an alert this morning. Said, watch the 28 upper 80s. It's been resistance. Is this a professional gap? Is this a head and shoulders bottom? I don't know. But the volume on the up move doesn't really give me much confirmation that it's a professional gap. Now, you can get professional gaps on light volume, but even down here, there wasn't much like power to stop. To me, it looks just more like an oversold bounce. Because this was the power of the move, and then it chopped around and had a gap up. Again, here's how you take the thinking out of it. Well, just watch the range highs. Yeah, tons of gaps, which is natural, right? But just watch this area. 28.90, 28.88. If it's the Dixie, I can't remember what the Dixie's at right now. But keep an eye on it. TLT, we said the Feds are in the sweet spot, right? Watch for the 100, 101 area, 50-day old channel. Look, you hit it yesterday. Decent volume up here. Is this distribution near term? I don't know. I've told people that very clearly that at some point there would be a monster rip in the TLT if the market's about to implode. But is the market about to implode? Or are we just in a sweet spot? It's really hard to know. I mean, I personally struggle with buying bonds here because I don't think the inflation stuff is over yet. But near term, the market's excited about it, right? Could it hold up into the next Fed meeting? Absolutely. So, I mean, what you want to do based on the bond market at this point, it's not moving. We talk about velocity of speed. It's not that fast. Like, that's pretty damn steep. Now, I know people say, oh, that's a pretty good rise. Agreed. But now you're coming into resistance. We'll see what happens. It's really hard to know for sure. But we've talked about this on the monthly, if you remember correctly. Let me show you. In 2008, before the big markets drop, the TLT spiked. Well, you're back at the zones that matter, so naturally it bounces. It's really tough to know. Remember, bonds in the market have done what? They've literally moved together with each other. So if the bond market's popping up, is the stock market going to hold up? Things you have to ask yourself, because think about it, the 60-40 portfolio this year has been absolutely decimated. All right, well, is it maybe time for them to both rise slightly? God forbid, maybe. We'll see. The VIX, what did we say? He said that action on Tuesday was not what the bulls wanted to see. You don't want to see this big spike up and then come right back down. You had the VIX rollover, it's just tight action. I've said nobody but me. No, probably not. I'll give credit. There's probably some people out there who are like, oh, if the VIX can't break out, then it probably means what? The market's going to come back higher and the VIX will come down. Well, we talked about the gap. Could it get filled? This area matters. 23, that t-shirt, that area matters. I don't know why that not stretched over. This area matters. That area, whatever you want to call it. It's been resistance, been support. We'll see what happens. We're in it. We're in the middle of it. So at this junction, do you want to get extremely bearish or bullish? I would just assume the trend is your friend here. That's where I'm thinking. SPY. Are we surprised it pulled back during ChopX? Are we surprised it's chopping? No. Talked about the 100-day being in play this morning. Think. I know some folks in the Discord room talk about, apologize if I didn't post a chart. I thought it was. But it looks very similar to this pattern here. And we talked about, the repeating pattern setups. Now, I know this is a little steeper, but the 20-day holding, the first major move at average pullback. Well, here you go, right? 100-day. Now, bears are saying professional gap, game over. I mean, I could see that, but this is what the problem with OPEX and the volume. You really don't have a confirmation signal. You really need to break it out, break below at 390 and go. If it doesn't, then I'm telling you, I think the commodity game is about to pick up. Doesn't mean that tech can't hold up. Doesn't mean that the market overall won't hold up, but maybe this is where we get the IWM lag and the SPY picks up near term. Because again, think about it, the IWM, it probably wouldn't like if oil and gas go nuts. Also, too, what we talked about, what was I thinking? This action right here. I still remember very clearly, we thought this was the high right? It got choppy. It was the first of the month. And then it ended up running into OPEX. Is the opposite about to happen here, where you get the choppy action during OPEX and you run into the first of the month, or whatever you want to call it, the holidays, season, Thanksgiving. Just keep that in mind, because we thought this was the top. Remember, we got stopped out, and then it was one more gap and last go. What could be the catalyst for the gap? I mean, in my mind, there's 1,000 of them, which is interesting. People are not seeing it that way, but I think there's a lot of things, because the market, there's a lot of bad news out there, right? Like, the market is constantly digesting bad news, right? The market climbs the wall of worry. Well, could be good? I mean, I saw this today in my, usually I tell folks, like, 1% of the news actually matters. And so once you get good at, like, trading and understand it, like, it'll kind of ring in your bell. It'll be like the diamond in the rough, right? You'll just be looking around, and all of a sudden something will just, like, fixate. And one of the things was China was, importing more vaccines. Well, does it really make sense for them to do more restrictive China stuff after the elections? I'm assuming they did it because they were trying to affect the elections. Would we not agree? Like, this is a point nobody's talking about. And this is just my brain catching up to, like, news and thinking about, like, all right, if they're importing more vaccines and the election is done, like, is there really anything for them to, like, for them to continue to be restrictive? I mean, here in the United States and most of the rest of the world, like, COVID is what it is. Not to talk about it in a sense of, like, it's real or not. No, it's real, but we all know, like, what happens. Like, viruses adapt so that they don't kill their host. We know that. It's like the flu. It's literally the same, I think, same Spanish flu from 1930s. The flu adapts. So at this point, is it deadly? Obviously to people who are at risk, naturally, who are obese, older folks. But the general population, it's just another version of the flu, cold, whatever, combination. That rang in my ear, and nobody talked about that today, but I'm thinking post-election. What is what purpose right now at this point does it have to be more restrictive in China? We'll see. That's my thinking here. That, to me, could be the potential run-up. That could be potential run-up. Just saying. QQQ. NVIDIA earnings drops. SMH, we talked about. Watch what happens to SMH. Gaps down and popping back. Doesn't look that bad, y'all. It doesn't look that bad. Now you're just in the zone. It's the top of the VAP zone, and it seems to be holding. A lot of people just screaming bearishness. And this is the thing. When everybody's screaming bearishness, it's usually not right. When everybody's like, what is going on? And it's dropping. That's when I'm like, market makers got them. Does this make sense? Can I get, like, at least one yes? Like, when the market makers got everybody out of position and everybody's not expecting something, then you got to be worried. Go check out the Twitter feeds. Go check out stock twits. Like, everybody and their mom is like, game over. Finish him. And they're like, oh, the Fed said this and the Fed said that. Look what's happening. The market seems to be just chopping as the Feds talk. And it's like, all right, well, we know what they're going to do in December. But we can't trade the future. You don't want to be early shorting. Right? You don't want to be way ahead of it. Because if you have options, you're going to be wrong. You're playing these leverage ETFs, you're going to be dead wrong. So we'll see what happens here. This doesn't look that bearish to me. We'll see what happens, like as we said on the SPY. Now here is the canary in the coal mine, right? It's always the IWM. Well, for the IWM to make new highs, that's going to probably be more difficult than, say, the SPY. And then what comes in? 200-day. That's where, I mean, I should probably, like, watch for lag. Let me see if I can just pull it right to the 200-day. Like, that's what I'd be watching. Watch for that pop and that lower high. Because we've said, remember the IWM peaked in November? I've said this 1,000 times. The market peaked in December. Could this be the peak for the IWM? The first sign you need to see to be actually shorting in time, just not early. I still think commodities are going to do what? They're going to continue to rise at some point, and they're putting, go AA, high of the day. They're going to put the Feds in a pickle. That's what you want to see. You want to see the Feds have to waver. Well, what's going to do that? Higher oil prices, higher commodity prices, right? That's the goal here, I think. Because if not, they're in a sweet spot. And I'm not saying I know for sure, but this could get choppy for months if the Feds are in a sweet spot. What does that mean? The markets could just go sideways. Most people don't understand sideways action. But have you not seen the monthly before on the IWM? Have you not seen How you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 a year sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 a year sideways. You don't want to see that. You and I don't want to see that. Maybe it's our bias and we hope we're wrong. But damn, I don't want to see a chop. I don't want to see a choppy, boring market. Sorry, that's just scary. I hate those markets. Gold. Talked about getting up the 165, 166 level, maybe the 200-day. Pulling back today. This candle action, a little suspect, little sus. But here again, if the Feds are in the sweet spot, and this is the range lows, is this the range highs? I don't know. Because once it got over this and gapped over it, you 1,000% knew that 161s were not the range highs. Right? That's just a big gap. It's probably going to continue on. Here's the first pullback. Is this like a multi-day chop and then go to hit the upside target? Or is this the high? Again, that all depends on the market. If you're listening and you have traded gold, be aware the 0.786 is the most sneaky and most important fib out there in gold. I repeat, the 0.786. Most people do not know this about gold. Again, I've traded gold for 20 years and it has kicked my ass, but you know what? I learned a lot of lessons. The 0.786 is the sneaky mother beep of gold. The 0.786 is, I don't know why. I don't know why that is the case, but the 0.786, because maybe it's a confusion move where the market thinks that something is going to happen. He gets excited about getting over the 0.618. Maybe. Just keep that in mind. We're at this now again, this fib is sneaky because it's older. Where's the bottom of this thing? Where's the one? It's so far back out. I don't want to mess with it. Well, point being, if you're shorting gold, long gold, the upside probably not really worth getting more long. Again, I still have a little bit left, but I'm ready to puke it up if I ever feel like it. But I'm holding out for the little bit of the range highs. Silver, naturally lagging. Gaps down, back into this range. There it is. Sometimes I move the boxes by accident when I'm surfing around. See what happens when it gets to 19. Got over the 200-day. Nice little trap. Oh, look at that. Oil building as the day goes on. Not the end. We'll see. Hey, Dan, question. How can the Fed bring markets down, man? If they go to 50 basis points in December, that is bullish for the stocks. If they pause next year, that is bullish for stocks. I don't see any scenario that's not bullish for stocks. The only way for stocks to go down is something breaks. Thoughts? Ken, I completely agree with you. I've said this many times. The worst news is baked in. Something has to happen to help trigger the next capitulation or move down. If this Bitcoin crap is not creating an absolute market liquidation, then I don't know what is. And I agree with you. Remember, there's a ton of money on the sidelines. Could it be some sort of conflict with China, Taiwan? Agree. Maybe. Could it be Russia heating it up again? Potentially. Could it be a host of things that we don't know? I don't know. I really don't know. But here becomes the thing is that we try to trade evidence, because sometimes we talk about this all the time. The news doesn't present itself till after the fact. A lot of people don't remember that we shorted before COVID. And they're like, how did you know? Well, the chart action, and then we were also looking at, it was kind of funny, we're looking at the meteorological weather forecast over China. All of a sudden, their smoke stopped. So at this point, here's the thing. If you're lost, I told people, I am still not in my IRA stuff, not 401k stuff, all old 401ks, all the recommendations, still cash. We have not seen the capitulation moment, but that doesn't mean you can't chop for a while. That is the hardest part, and that's what the market wants to do. It wants people to give up. And when I say give up trying to figure out what's going to happen. And then at the highs, everyone will be like, well, I guess it's just going higher. That's what they're really good at doing. So at this point, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is confusing. I've tried to tell them, you can't be bearish at this point if everybody's bearish at the highs. That's not how a market tops. It doesn't top with everybody bearish. It's usually some news signal, the new bull market's on. Think about oil, the Time magazine. Oil is dead in whatever April or May of whatever 2020 was. That's the kind of crap you need to see. I'm just not seeing that right now. I could be wrong here, but this is the probability-based mindset of mine. This is what I'm thinking. I don't know for sure, but those are the signs and the things I look for. Good point. Good question here. We could be in the chop zone, my friend. We could absolutely be in the chop zone until the Feds do something. But I see commodities down. Okay, this is where I was saying. This is where I think the difference in what we expect potentially happening to put the Feds in a pickle to have to raise more is commodity what? Prices have to rise. Because again, we talk about demand destruction, yes, ultimately. But what? But what ultimately? The Feds can't control supply. Fed can't control supply. They can't bring more oil on whatever you want, whatever commodity. Good conversation. I'm glad you interrupted because that's a good point. A lot of people just like, I read the news, everything's crap. And it's like, yeah, everything is crap, but is it priced in? Market climbs that wall of worry. Been there, done that. Yeah, no problem, Ken. GDX talked about getting up into this 28, 29 range. Is the 200-day in play? Why is sometimes the 200-day not playing? It's short-armed it before. I don't. Here's a 0.786 for a gold name. I don't really know. They were like, that's not a good answer. Well, guess what? The more you're up, less you own. This gap here, is it the start of the move? You know, like a continuation of the goof? Well, is it 3-gap trap? Maybe you got one more. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I just don't really have a feel on gold, GDX, all that stuff. I'm not shorting it. Some people are. Hey, there's probably points to be made. And again, if you did short the highs, absolutely, that's a win. It's just I don't know how much downside there is. I could be completely wrong, and this thing opens up the door. Great. Congratulations to them. Again, I'm not really long or short. The only thing I got long is gold. Miners are always tough. Yeah, I mean, that's typically the first drop does get bought. Right? Something, a little bit. A little bit. I don't know. Even a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the problem with this action for, say, like the GDXJ that I have is you're into this, like, VAP zone, and then you got tired here. Is it just like this? I don't know. I like GDXJ way better. We showed on the monthly why. Like, long-term, I mean, this 25, 26 area or some sort of wipeout down into the teens would be excellent. I just personally, again, you got to pick and choose what you're going to trade. AG, here you go, holding the 20-day. Doesn't look that bad. Things that don't look bearish if you like the miners. Like it, and again, but think about it too. Why would it bounce on the 20-day? Well, it just went from 980 down to 880 or whatever. First, as you said, the first dip gets bought. Probably buying. Yeah, I just don't see a ton of upside in the miners. We'll see, though. I could be wrong. That's why I still own a little bit, because what if the Feds lose it and the dollar starts mashing more? AEM, we talked about maybe getting up the 200-day. I don't like that it couldn't get up there. Why is this drawn like that? It should be like this. Something of that nature. Hold on. There you go. I don't like the deal they're doing with Imana, especially at this point, because I don't think gold's breaking out. But if the gold does break out, maybe it does. It's just hard to see that at this point. Bitcoin's lost its luster. I mean, everything is really dependent upon, like, demand, supply. Like gold, I don't know how big of a demand it is. Oh, there you go. XOP, high of the day. Interesting. Newmont, we'll just run through these real quick. I hate these names. Newmont, hit the 100-day, backing off. I mean, this is your best bet for shorting miners. It's just these monster miners. They're crap. PAAS, I like this company, but I hate their Umana gold deal. But here, this is the thing. Could it get in the chop zone? That would be ideal for the next move. AMD, let's get into techers. Man, going slow, but whatever. Talked about the 100-day being a little island floating reversal. Here you go. First dip being bought at the 8-day. We'll see what happens. NVIDIA, up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. Hammer, indecision at the 8-day. Good question. Don't know. SMH, talked about holding some calls. It popped up to whatever. It was like 220. I got close enough, and I was like, I'm trying to get back to even on my calls. I think I lost 50 cents. I bought 2 of them. Lost $100. Yee! End of the move. Oh, so painful. No. Here you go. 8-day drops down, rallying right back. If this was more bearish, don't you think it'd collapse? I've said this multiple times, I think you get a choppy top. It's been known to chop top. If you get a slightly higher high on the SMH, I would short the crap out of it with confidence with a stop. We'll see. I mean, keep in mind, I show this all the time. Like, the SMH has gotten pretty slammed. 320 approximately down to 167. I mean, in a bear market, you get these big rally. You know, the more something down, the more it can rally sometimes because it's just been absolutely liquidated, right? And the market makers know that. Well, now you have the tax loss selling. Are people like chasing it back up? Whew, to put them back in a position like they're wash sales? I don't know. But the first dip is getting bought. More information. This is where I think at some point you're going to have to just trust that either you get the blowout and then chop and then it goes. But even then you had like another dip to buy. Well, could you get another pop to short? That becomes the biggest question. Do you want to be early? Because I'm with my friend here, Ken. Like, it's really hard to get bearish when the market is just, I don't think there's a lot of catalyst for, like, you know, the next Hulk smash. Adobe pulling back to the range highs. Look at that, bouncing. Not surprised, right? Apple, can't be really bearish Apple unless what? It probably gets back to the range highs. And look, a gap down to the 20-day, closing back at the highs. I mean, it's probably going to test the 200-day at some point. This is just a big-ass chop zone. And I'm sorry to say that. I don't know. I mean, everyone wants to like, hey, time to short now. Clearly the time to short was up there. But even then, look what happens. It's bouncing back. It's holding the 20-day. It doesn't look that terrible. Remember, all that cash on the sidelines as well. It's tough. Tech is just, again, to me, it's a no touch. But if it's not melting down, I'm telling you, there's going to be rotation into the commodities and the leaders. It's been the case. As these names look upper left, lower right, what makes higher highs and higher lows or holding higher lows? Commodity stuff. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your mind. So at this point, Amazon, I mean, it could go in the chop zone. And then it could run up a little bit. I don't know. Your guess is good of mine. You want to trade this stuff? I mean, you can. Just have stops. That's all I'm saying. Just have stops. Look at them apples. What is going on? I'm just like, all right, UNG got to get over that lip. PXD looking good. Whoa, AA high of the day. SMH doing okay. USO 70.20. Got to get over that 70.30. I was watching that. NTR up a buck. Nice. First solar 160. Again, you can't short solar here too. This is hard. This is really hard. And that's where I'm like trying to tell people, lay off some of this stuff. CRM software. I mean, this is hard. It's hard. This is a chop. I mean, in chop zone. I can't tell you. I can't give you any really good advice. Goog holding the 100-day. It's been resistance. Man, if it compresses here high and tight, maybe you get back to the 105. Maybe you get back to the 100-day. Maybe you get a little over the 100-day. Maybe you get the channel. We've talked about this. Like, here you go. Here's your, maybe what it gets to. Let me change the color because it's kind of crap. Oh, gosh. There you go. Fill background. Let's just make it red. Maybe that's where it gets to. We'll see. I mean, this is all speculation, but in probability based, right? Meta gets back into the channel. We talked about, remember, market is a liquidity seeking mechanism. Well, all the headlines that they're laying people off and everybody's dumping and the market makers are covering. Well, now it bounces up to in the channel and how it's holding the 20-day. 20-day was resistance. Will it be support now? This is, again, I don't like these stocks long term, but it doesn't mean they can't chop around. Hey, Microsoft. Dollar exposure. Hits the 50-day, bounces right back. Again, I don't like any of these names because they're upper left, lower right. They just look like crap, but doesn't mean they can't bounce. NDAQ. All the volume will be leaving the NASDAQ at some point, and they will be all trading commodities. Every blumpkin in the world will be going commodities once the momentum really starts. Keep in mind, the momentum hasn't even started yet. This is still the birthing pains, as I call it. Okay, hits the upper zone, backs off. NDAQ, I've got March puts. This is the Coinbase for NASDAQ. I anticipate, like the last tech bubble, money will be leaving tech, and those names will lose all their volume too. Meaning not that their stock volume will change other than the amount traded, which that's going to hurt the NDAQ. NASDAQ.
Bitcoin, I mean, here you go. And MicroStrategy, is this a bottom? I mean, you know how this thing bounces, 50, 60 points, always possible. Netflix took most of the profits off in the last couple days. I honestly thought about adding the dip today, and I just didn't. I didn't also like unload the last little position. I'm just going to probably use the 20-day because that would be the best. Remember, the first dip gets bought, right? The first dip should get bought. We'll see. But that gap is a little ominous. But I still think you can get to filling the upper gap. I think it's possible. Right? Think about if this is the rubber band man theory. Let's start from the beginning. Big up move, a smaller up move, and then the last move will be the smallest with chop. That's what I would be focused on. Roblox. Glad we have USO at the end. Yes. Holding this weird old trend line. Not weird, but just choppy. I mean, I probably should get rid of this. I think they get bought out at some point because companies love to, create addictions for kids, and they love Roblox. We'll see. I mean, I don't have kids, so probably not the best one to ask. Tesla, leave it alone. If Elon's selling, he doesn't even want to be CEO anymore. And you want to still buy this? I mean, not you, but I mean, I get a lot of people like, oh, Tesla long term. I'm like, no. That was the blow off top. After a blow off top, you go down. Are we done going down? I don't know. But this company, again, everybody and their mom's going to make an electric vehicle at some point. Their margins are not going to be increasing, expanding. Letter X. Let's get into materials like these names. We talked about hitting the 200-day backing off. I mean, today's candle you can't really say that's bearish, right? Gaps down, long wicks, closes at the highs. Watch the 200-day. Gets over it, it could fly. Nucor, wow, $5. Man, I was watching this thing down earlier. Look at that. Commodity rotation. Talking about it. Listen, look at that. Opens, gaps down, long whip, closes back at the highs. Interessante. I don't know why I have Target in here, but I have it in my stock list. I'm like, this is not what things do when the market's about to collapse. You don't gap down on crappy earnings and then rally back. Sorry to interrupt. Back to commodities. VALE. Gaps down, rallies back. Now, that's pretty supportive near term, right? You're holding the old support in the 618. Doesn't look bearish. Arrow. Someone was saying this looks bullish. I was like, you know what? That's interesting. It's holding the 200-day, 2-day, and is this considered an outside, like a trap? Like look below the 200-day and rally back, close at the highs. Doesn't look bearish. I mean, I see higher highs and higher lows. Notice the difference between tech and some of these names. Just throwing that out there. CCJ. What did CF close at? Nice, 102. Doji. Interesting. Now, again, we've talked about this with uranium, this name in particular. Like, they've got a Westinghouse deal. Liquidity, the stock is going to be probably hard to trade. Meaning what? Well, if they're going to use shares and debt and all this stuff, like, I always tell people, like, people don't realize, like, if you are selling debt to a company, you know what the best way to hedge your debt is? To short the stock. Now, they don't necessarily have to do it all the time, but if they're unsure, absolutely, I'd be shorting the crap out of the stock if I was selling them a ton of debt to buy Westinghouse. What if the aliens come up with a better source of power than uranium? Just kidding. I don't know. CF. All right, finally, it's official. The deal's going through. It looks like Russia is going to still provide grain, whatever, or let Ukraine provide grain. I don't even follow the story that much. Stopped out yesterday because I didn't like the action. Gap down. People were like, oh, congratulations, you stopped out. I'm like, it wasn't like rocket science, but look what it did today. Here came the news. Here comes the news. Well, it didn't close bearish. I don't know. Say indecision. You get back over the 50-day and you want to buy it? Because look at what it was today. It was the resistance. It was the high. You get back over it, maybe it starts the process over. Remember we talked about strong stocks, chop zones? Lower left, upper right. This is just could be a big consolidation pattern to get back up to the range highs. You bet your weenies. What did I say there? Weenies or Wheaties? I don't know. If possible. Mosaic, back down to 50. This seems to be like a trajectory. Like this 50 area. Seems to always like kind of bounce around it. And then you get back to the channel lows and it bounces. And that volume again. I mean, it's not like, you know how you had like the reoccurring news of just like beating people over the head. This, and eventually the market prices it in. You have to remember the market is very good at pricing in what it knows. I always tell people that, like, buy the rumor, sell the news. Well, once the news comes out and they price it in, now it can drop, or the opposite version, sell the news, buy the rumor. Or sorry, sell the rumor, buy the news. Once it's priced in, the market's priced in. Now, how many times can we talk about this grain deal in Ukraine with Russia, right, for Europe? I mean, it's been going on for months. We not agree? Can I get like 7 yeses? Yeah, it's like beating you over the head. Like, boring. But you had to trade it. That was the hardest thing, right? NTR. Look at this action today. It gaps down. I mean, it zipped right back. That doesn't look bearish to me. I don't know. AA. Hell yeah, I love this close. I was watching it in the background trying to talk to you. I was getting like slightly excited. Here you go. Back tests. What? The 45 area. We talked about 45s. What was the exact low today? 45.55. All right. We talked about this is a strong stock, y'all. This is somebody, big boy, is supporting this mother. Somebody's supporting this mother. And it's coming off a, this doesn't look like, I mean, I guess you could argue it's tech, but think about where tech is in relation to 2022, right? Like tech is like, commodities are just back at their levels of 2021. All right, let's see what happens here. I mean, Boeing's been on fire. So, like, if Boeing has been doing well, aluminum has got demand, y'all. Nice candle today. I mean, ChopX, OPEX. There you go. ChopX, OPEX. We'll see what happens. Let's end it. No, sorry. Let's not end it. XBI. My bad. I'm like trying to get the oil as fast as I can. Here you go. Gaps down. Try it. Technically close enough for government work. Filled the gap. I mean, maybe you get there tomorrow. Watch what happens at the 79.50 range. Either way, things that don't look insanely bearish. But this is here the point. Like, you got to pick what? You got to try to find the best winners. I personally think commodities have more upside than tech because there's going to be people who are stuck. Here we go. Financials. Is the market rolling over? Well, we hit the upside target zone. Just as this, we had a broadening pattern down. Do we have a broadening pattern upside? Yeah, it hits the 0.618. If you shorted financials at this point, looking good. But here's the problem now. The 200-day is support. Got an old fib there. I don't know. I would love to see the 36s and then fail. I don't want to short financials early. I've said that over and over. Morgan Stanley, chopping around 90, 88, 89. Nice little gap down, hammer back. We'll see. Need more information. JP Morgan's been absolutely killing it in this market. Just lying to everyone, just telling them to give up their shares and then telling everybody to buy puts. I mean, these guys are working hard, or hardly working because the media is just running with their narratives. I don't know why you wouldn't get up into this range. I mean, their quarter's been made. I mean, they could literally stop trading today. They probably made a couple, I don't know, I would say 20, 30, 40 billion trading prop desks. They could be murdering it. We'll see. Don't know. Solar. I've tried to be warning people. I'm like, I don't think these things are going to fail if the commodities rotation comes. And this got even worse recently. As much as I hate to say it, the Dems winning the Senate doesn't hurt solar. Do we not agree? That doesn't hurt solar. Near term, maybe I've said this, I got my alarm, 88. We watched this zone. Today's action, you gap down and you rally back to the close highs, near the high of the range. It doesn't look bearish. It just doesn't look bearish to me. It looks like a support zone, right? You're making higher highs. I mean, you could argue here, there's like a big freaking stupid channel. I don't know why I didn't draw this earlier, but you can see it. Maybe there's just a big channel. I mean, how you widen it out, whatever. Some people might argue that's, again, think about it, like since December, building a base. The blue party winning the Senate does not hurt solar, in my opinion. Sedge, again, all these names just say, like, I don't know. I mean, holding up here, said watch maybe even the monthly channel high. I'm not touching it. Sedge, did I say ENPH? I meant it. Sedge, you can't be bearish, solar. Look at this crap. Held the 200-day and rallied back. Man, wow. 20-point range. 25-point range. Not bearish. Again, I struggle with, again, I aggressively want to short solar. aggressively, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. I've been there early and seen what happens. Here, First Solar hits our freaking target. Hits our target. Oh, crap. Is it going to break out of the channel? I don't know. It's really good at playing games. I'll show you the monthly. Talked about this fib. You're welcome if you didn't short it. Maybe it needs to do this like blow off, like long wicket. Long wicket. You've got a long wicket, sir. Now, this isn't sustainable, right? We talk about like 6 months of this, but ooh, look at that. I hope it's not that. And here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Be careful. I trust me, I am itching. And I don't know if it's athlete's foot, jock itch, to short solar. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, it feels right. Anyway, oil. Let's get into it. USO. Talked about the low end of the range here. This is the last OPEX. I was like noticing today. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. You had like a previous support zone. Well, here's your other support zone. Oh, sorry. And again, I don't really like to chart the USO a ton, but we talked about oil. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. We'll see what happens. I mean, I like this close. Let's pull up the 10-minute because you know I want to see the 10-minute close. Oh, you know I do. Last candle, decent volume, indecision. Okay. Okay. Well, I told people I thought we were probably bottoming somewhere. Look at that. Zzz, chop X, light volume. Went a little lower, went a little higher, closed 7. I mean, it's at 70.20. I don't know why it's saying 70.14 on the daily. If it's a bottom, because of OPEX, again, chopping out. Fly, eagle, fly to victory. This could be a solid buy point. It's easy. Stop is today's low. All right, well, oil is down. Nat gas should have been smoked, right? No. Oh, my God. It building a high. Is it making another little higher high here? Equivalent high. Oh, slightly higher high off the OMG. Slightly higher high off the lows. Now, who loves doji sandwiches? Drew, are you listening? Doji sandwich. If you know what a doji sandwich is. I would be careful if I was shorting nat gas. That looks interesting. Now, again, I talked about the last couple days, and now the volume wasn't huge, but it's like long wick, long wick, long wick. Next 2 days. Gap down, rallies. Gap down, rallies. Gap up, and it actually freaking stuck. It actually stuck. Didn't close at the oh man, who knows, right? No, that's interesting. XOP talked about the 20-day. Congratulations, range lows. Posted that earlier. Why is oil service rallying if oil's about to tank? Something's not right here. Here was the blow off. Even in August, remember July, August, zing. Here you go in May. I mean, these names are still, again, I hate to talk fundamentals, but idiots out there will be like, they're still cheap. Yeah, they're the cheapest sector in the S&P 500. Hey, this chop action, could it lead? I mean, do y'all remember what happened during ChopX? Last one. We'll see. Oxon Mobile. Look at that. Gaps down. Close at the high of the day. It said the monthly is probably coming into play. 117. You might get more of a markup. PXD. Oh, look at that close again. You son of a biscuit. I didn't see that. I talked about buying some around 248, 249 this morning. It was like, watch for a bear trap. I like that. Let me see the 10-minute. Oh, man. I just, again, I don't watch my account balance. I always tell people, don't watch your account balance because it makes you trade and do things based on whether you're up or down. Oops. Like, are you trading well? Does it look right? That's kind of stuff I'm looking for. Here you go. That is bananas. That's an awesome close. Yes. Because we had it here a couple days ago, which was interesting. You had that rally and then you flopped. And then you had this like big after hours candle like of dark pool going through. Somebody is playing games here with my heart. No, with PXD. Check the monthly out real quick too. I mean, I'm not trying to say this is going to new highs like right away, but it doesn't look bearish. Holding high and tight on the monthly, right? Keep that in mind. That's all I'm going to say. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to read through the questions and we'll do some free chat and talking. I appreciate everybody. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, stop by Discord room. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to jump in. I appreciate all the love, support, and the donations. You know how it is. Your tuition bill hopefully is much cheaper than mine, because in trading, you either pay to learn or you lose and learn. Talk to you later.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.